Good day, Junior Tuckies. Welcome to this lesson for English Home Language. It is going to be focusing on nouns at the beginning, and then we're going to move on to some adjectives and pronouns. Before we jump right in, I just wanted to introduce myself to you. My name is Miss Langtree. This is what I look like, I hope. And yes, I have been teaching English for a few years now, and I'm very excited to impart some of my knowledge onto you. Right, so the first thing that everyone needs to know, kind of like the root of the sentence for parts of speech, is that every sentence should at least have a subject, and ideally a sentence should have a subject and an object in order to be considered sort of complete. So let's take a look at what a subject and an object is. I am looking over here. Oh, my arrow is looking a bit squiff today. I shouldn't say squiff, that's slang, wonky today. Anyway, so the subject is the person, place, or thing that's actually doing the activity. So the subject is the part of the sentence that is in control of the verb, okay, and of the object. And I'll explain that in a bit more detail now. And then let's move on to the object. Now the object is the person, place, or thing that is having an action done to it. Okay, so for example, the boy kicked the ball. In this example, the boy is the subject. The boy, okay, is actually doing an action. And that is why it is the subject of the sentence, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about what this noun, what the subject is doing, okay? And then the ball, all right, would be considered the object, because the object is the person, place, or thing, okay? It's the noun that is having an action done to it. It is the object in the sentence. So what I want you to do is when you're reading, okay, which I hope you're doing a lot of, or when you're just in class and you get a sentence in any subject, I want you to ask yourself, what is the subject of the sentence? Is there an object in the sentence? And if so, what is it? Okay, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That is a sentence that you might hear in biology. Well, then mitochondria, okay, would be the subject, and you'll learn more about that in biology, but just keep an eye out for the subject, what's actually doing the action, and the object, what is kind of receiving the action. Okay, so let's carry on. Here the boy is doing the activity, kicking, and so he's the subject. The ball is having the action done to it. It's being kicked, so it's the object. Find the subject and object in each of the following sentences. The ballerina twirls on the stage. Okay, well, first of all, let's locate some of our nouns in the sentence. Where are the people, places, or things? Okay. The stage is definitely something that you can physically touch, okay, with your feet when you're running on it or twirling on it, okay? And what in the sentence, all right, is doing an activity? Well, the activity is twirling. Who's twirling? The ballerina. Okay, so the ballerina is the subject of the sentence, and the stage is what the activity is being kind of done on. Okay, so the ballerina is the subject and the stage is the object. The dog is being led by the man. Okay, so who is actually doing the activity here? Okay, who's leading? Okay, the man is actually leading. The dog is being led. So who is doing the activity? The man is doing the activity. So the man is actually the subject. Okay, but the dog is being led by the man, so the dog is having an activity done to it. Okay, it's being led on a leash, so the dog is the object. It doesn't always mean that the subject is going to be at the beginning of the sentence and the object is going to be at the end. Okay, so that's why you've got to ask yourself these questions when it comes to subject and object. Okay, the man is being led by the dog. Okay, the dog here is the subject suddenly. Oh, goodness me, I'm not very good at drawing. Okay, the dog is being led, the man is being led by the dog. The dog is the one who's leading, okay? So the dog is the subject, and the man is having this done to him, Okay, he is being led. Perhaps this dog is a very big dog, and that can sometimes happen where the dog just has more power, so you just go wherever the dog goes. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. Anger is making me feel this way. This one's a tricky one. Okay, what's the verb? What's the activity being done? Feeling. Feel. Okay, making me feel. Okay, so then what are the nouns in this sentence? Well, we could say anger, couldn't we? Okay, because anger is the subject in the sentence. If you think about it, anger is the thing that is doing this activity. Anger is making me feel this way. Okay, it's almost personified in this sentence, this abstract noun. Okay, so anger is the subject here. Okay, making me, I'm the one receiving this anger. I am the one feeling this way. So I'm receiving this activity. So me would be the object. Okay. Now, the reason why this is so important is because subjects and objects are nouns. Okay, and particularly when it comes to abstract nouns, when we're not quite sure, is this a noun? Is this an adjective? Because, you know, anger, it's a tricky one in terms of nouns, because we always think of nouns as concrete things. If it's the subject or the object of a sentence, okay, it's a noun. All right, so that is quite important indeed. All right, so we are going to quickly revise nouns. I say that because we do have a video on the different types of nouns out there, which I'd like you to check out if you're a bit unsure. But for now, let's quickly revise our nouns. So a common noun is the name for a general person, place, or thing. For objects or subjects, okay? So the key word here is general. Common, general, okay? For example, table, coconut, the garden, a girl, okay? These are all things that we can physically touch, all right? But yeah, it's just a general name, okay? So let's take a look at this beautiful little specimen, all right? It is a cat. Now, is there only one cat in the world? No. In fact, we battle to keep our cat population under control, don't we? Because we don't get our animals spayed or neutered, which means that they can have lots and lots of babies. And then there's cats everywhere. So they're very common, okay? And beautiful. More cats the better, right? Unless, yeah, shame they don't live a very good life, but I digress. Okay, so cats, quite common, okay? You see quite a lot of them, so that's the general name for this animal. Moving on to proper nouns, okay? Now, that's when it's specific. For this specific cat, we name it, all right? And then it's a name, and hence it suddenly becomes a proper noun. Okay, so let's have a look. Specific person, place, or thing. For example, Table Mountain, Soweto, Julie. Julie is the name of a person, okay? Or Davina is also the name of a person. Your name, your middle name, and your surname are all considered proper nouns, and therefore you should write your name with the first letter always being capitalized, okay? To indicate that this is a proper noun. Interestingly enough, the months of the year, January, February, March, they're also proper nouns, and they also have a capital letter, and that is because they're the name of that month, okay, the specific month. Right, so if perhaps we should name our cat, I don't know, what would you name it if you got a cat? Perhaps I'll call this one Julie because I'm not very creative. Julie. Anyways, so anyway, that would be a proper noun suddenly because there's a million cats in the world, but this one specifically is called Julie, and hence it's a proper noun. Okay, abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are tricky, but now we have a new quiver. No, we have a new arrow in our quiver, okay? And that is the whole subject and object rule. Now we know that subject and object indicate that this is a noun. Okay, so if we see something that seems abstract, and we note, okay, but this is the subject or the object of the sentence, that will get us one step closer to indicating that this is indeed a noun. So let's read the definition of an abstract noun. You can feel this, but not in a traditional way. It's not like a table where you can just touch it, right? It's more like a feeling in your soul, such as an emotion, okay? Anger, happiness, that sort of thing. Now, this is also a concept, such as I have an idea. I have a bad feeling about this, okay? Notice that it starts with an, okay, or a, and that's also helpful to us, okay, because that indicates that it's a subject or an object, or the, but we'll get into that in a bit more detail just now, okay? So basically, it is either the subject or the object of a sentence which helps us. It is a concept that we can't physically feel, but it is definitely a noun in the sentence regardless, okay? For example, all you need is love. Love is all you need. Notice here, who's the one needing it? Okay, you, right, is love. Okay, so who's the person who needs it? You, so you is the subject. What is the object of the sentence? Love. Do you see? Love is all you need. Okay. So just take a look at your subject and object again if you're not sure, and just notice, is it the kind of what the sentence is talking about? Okay, is it the subject or the object? And that could help you indicate whether or not this is an abstract noun. Okay, then we move on to a nice one, which is collective nouns, the name for the collection of nouns. For example, the gaggle of geese, a school of fish, a constellation of stars. Can you think of any other collective nouns? I'd love to hear them. They can get kind of crazy. So yes, a murder of crows, for example. The English language is very creative when it wants to be. But yes, those are collective nouns. So let's take a look at our kitty cat again. If she was born in a group, okay, so say there's 4 kittens, we would say a litter of kittens, okay? Or if you just see like a bunch of cats, I remember at the school I worked at, there were cats everywhere and they used to scare the kids, shame, okay? And we would say, oh, look at the clouder. Look at the clouder. Oh gosh, that T looks a bit interesting, doesn't it? I'm making it worse. Okay, the litter of kittens or the clouder of cats. Right, so that's a collective noun, a collection. Okay. Right, now we're going to move on to our adjectives, and the reason why we needed to revise our nouns is because adjectives and nouns are kind of a package deal, okay, in the sense that an adjective helps us to understand a noun a little better. So let's have a look. Adjectives are the words that describe the noun. This gives us more detail and it tells us more. Okay, and it helps us as the reader picture these people or these places or these things, okay, more vividly in our imagination. Adjectives can therefore often be found next to the noun, but not always, okay? Here are 2 boys below. Do you see the pictures? What words could we use to help the reader picture them properly? Now, this is just an example. They actually do look quite similar, but say, for example, we just say, the boy, okay? Every single person in the world would probably picture a different looking boy or, different emotions. So it's very, very important that we use our adjectives so that our reader can help us fully understand what this boy looks like. Okay, so here's the 2 boys. What words could we use for boy A? Okay, for me, what is the most striking thing about this boy are his eyes. Wouldn't you agree? He's got these big, sparkling, beautiful, I think they are hazel eyes. Okay, and that's just the eye. So the eye is the noun, okay? It is the thing that you can touch. Please don't. But I'm just saying it is a physical object. Okay, and the adjectives I use were bright, beautiful, almost sad, concerned, okay, striking eyes. I think striking could be a good adjective to use because it's the first thing that my eye is drawn to. It's almost like he's looking into my soul. Okay, then we could describe his clothing with the collared shirt. Shirt is the physical thing you can touch. The collared shirt, the checkered shirt. the denim shirt. Denim is a jean material. Okay, he's got brown hair or black hair. Okay, his emotions, how would you describe his emotions? He's not angry, but he's not happy either. He's almost concerned. Okay, yeah, okay. So let me know some other adjectives that you could think of for this boy. Mysterious, almost, but I'm drawn back to those eyes. He's also got wonderful eyebrows, doesn't he? My goodness, I wish I had eyebrows so lovely. Anyways, let's move on to the second boy. Okay, now physically, they actually do look rather similar, sort of, maybe. And that's why adjectives are so important, because adjectives can help us kind of distinguish in our minds between the two different characters. And it doesn't have to be physical attributes that we describe. I'm simply using physical attributes because we are looking at pictures right now. But if you wanted to kind of have a well-rounded character, you could really go into detail about what makes them tick, what makes them unique individuals. Are they funny? Are they rude? Okay, are they pouting in the corner? Are they super quiet but deep in thought? Okay, so adjectives really are a very powerful tool and an extremely important part of speech. So let's describe this other chap, much happier. Let's describe his smile. Okay, his smile, right, is a noun because you can see it physically. Now let's describe it. Big, bright, happy. Okay, how are his eyes? Closed eyes. Okay, upturned mouth, which means happiness. Okay, which means smiling. We'll learn about more of that in visual literacy. Okay, how's the hair? Spiky hair, funky hair. Okay, gelled hair. Okay, there we go. So that's the sort of thing. His hands are in a fist, but it's not in an angry way. So you wouldn't say the angry fists. Perhaps you'd say the casual fists or something like that. Okay, how's his posture? Is it just me or is this boy standing extremely straight? So he's got upright posture. He's got good posture. Okay, so adjectives and nouns, they go hand in hand. They're married. Right, now we're going to move on to the different types of adjectives. Okay, so there are 6 different types of adjectives, and this is something that you need to study. This is something that they will be asking you perhaps even in your matric examination. Okay, so let's put our thinking caps on. Okay, what type of cap? A thinking cap. Therefore, thinking is an adjective. I'm out of control. And let's tackle these different categories. So the first one is called a descriptive adjective. A descriptive adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. For example, the fluffy dog or the blue ocean. So think of descriptive adjectives. Here I am, guys. Sorry if we are a bit lost. Okay, think of descriptive adjectives as that traditional adjective that we learned perhaps when we were a bit younger. Okay, so when you see something like that, just note, okay, it's a descriptive adjective. It's helping us to describe it in more fluffy detail now. Okay, let's move on to now some of the high school level categories, and that is your possessive adjective. I like to think of a possessive adjective as kind of that possessive boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm not sure if anyone knows of someone in that situation, but it's kind of like my boyfriend. He's mine. Okay, so my. Okay, so it's showing the noun in relation to someone else, and hence it is describing it a bit better. Okay, it's not just anybody's hair, it's her hair. Okay, and then suddenly, we do get a bit of a better picture of it, especially if we know who she is. Okay, so possessive adjectives are used to show that someone possesses or owns something. Now, take note, okay, that these are always found before the noun. Okay? For example, my pen is missing, her hair is curly, or their table is neat. Okay, so it helps us just understand these nouns are in relation to someone or something else. Okay, and hence we suddenly get to know the table a bit better, sure, but also the person in question. Okay, so say for example, we have two different types of students in the class. The one student, I'm not sure if you ever had those desks that open up and the teacher inspects what it looks like inside. You're lucky if you do have one, but sometimes I remember you'd open up, oh gosh, I remember this boy in my class when I was little, you'd open it up his desk, and his desk was appalling. We're talking lunch from 3 weeks ago that he didn't eat, a banana peel, decomposing, okay, that sort of thing. So if you were, say, describing a class full of children, and you opened up those desks, and you saw what was inside, it would help you understand that person a lot better, wouldn't it? Okay, for example, the straight A student who just does so well in everything, I'm pretty sure that her desk will have her pens neatly in a row and that sort of thing. So my table is perfect. And you're like, well, of course your table is perfect, Brittany, calm down. Okay, so that is why it is an adjective, okay, because it does help us understand the nouns a lot better. Let's move on to demonstrative, not demonstrative. Demonstrative is how you pronounce it, but a way to remember it is by remembering the word demonstrate. I'm going to give you a demonstration. Have you heard of that word before? It's okay if you haven't. Basically, a demonstration is when someone is showing you something. Okay, so if you ever have show and tell, you are demonstrating to the class your pet hamster, or how to cook this delicious meal, or something like that. Okay, so demonstrative is how you remember it. Demonstrative is how you pronounce this type of adjective. And it's basically used to show a person or a place or a thing that you want to point out to somebody else. Okay, so say you are at the supermarket and you say, those mangoes look riper than these apples. Okay, it is describing the mangoes and the apples in a bit more detail. It is helping us understand these nouns, okay, and their relation, right, to one another and whatnot. Okay, so this and that can also be used. So let's go back to our desk scenario, okay? This desk is perfect, and that desk is a total cannonball, okay? It's so diabolically terrible. It makes me want to cry. So you two will sit next to each other because you will do a much better job at keeping that desk neat or something like that. Okay, so it's just, it helps the demonstrative adjective, again, always be found before the noun, and it just helps us to understand the nouns a bit better, okay? Because you are trying to point out that specific noun. Let's move on to interrogative adjective. Now, the way I like to remember interrogative adjectives, that's category number 4 over here, guys, is the interrogation room. Okay, so say for example, and I hope you never find yourself in an interrogation room, but say for example something's happened and you were wrong place, wrong time, okay, because I believe that you're innocent, okay? So you are found in this interrogation room at the police station. Are they going to chat with you? Maybe. But the things that they are going to do are they're going to interrogate you, okay? They're going to ask you a bazillion questions, all right, because they want to get down to the truth, right? The police officer wants to know what happened, okay? So they're going to say, whose pencil am I using? Well, they won't say that, but they'll ask a lot of question words in the interrogation room at a police station. So interrogative adjectives, okay, are question words, okay, and they are found before the noun. So again, they're giving us more detail about this noun, okay. Whose pencil am I using? Okay, it's indicated this pencil doesn't have an owner. Whose is it? Okay, what time is school starting? Hopefully it always starts at the same time, but sometimes, you know, it's a special day. Okay, so what, who, what, where, when, and how. Your question words, do you remember them? Okay, where is Import today? Okay, when your best friend's not at school and you don't know what to do with yourself, we've all been there. Okay. When will summer start? Okay, do you know the seasons? I remember, I'm actually not great with the seasons. I'm not sure if I was taught those properly at school. Okay, when will summer start? How is Emma's headache? Okay, you're a concerned friend and you want to know. Okay, so basically it is helping us understand the noun better, okay, by asking questions about the noun. Again, very, very close to the noun, and it just gives us a bit more detail about the noun. Then we move into something called definite and indefinite adjectives, okay? And basically, I like to, the thing that I use as my mental picture is kind of like that really, this is a bit of a stereotype, okay? But often when I dealt with parents, you'd have the mom, or more the female kind of guardian, who's so on top of everything, okay? She's like, my daughter's birthday is on the 25th of January. She was born on a Monday at 12 p.m. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, so she definitely knows all of the details. And then indefinite, which is the other kind of category, these two kind of go hand in hand. It's kind of like that blasé parent, do you know, who's kind of just like, I know her birthday is in March, I think. Or is that, am I getting confused with her sister? So kind of indefinite, doesn't know for sure. Okay, so definite, it's definitely. And indefinite, kind of just like, I don't really know, but I can give you a ballpark number. Okay, so let's take a look at the definite. Okay, now definites are used before the noun and they indicate the identity of the noun. They indicate that the identity of the noun is known to the reader. 14 monkeys are on the roof. This actually happened to me the other day. They were trying to get into my house. It was very scary. Okay, 14. This person has gone outside and they have counted every single monkey. They definitely know it was 14 monkeys. Definite and indefinite, it's indicating a quantity. Okay, it's indicating a number. Okay. You are the 5th student to ask to go to the bathroom. That's quite a common one. Okay. Particularly if another teacher doesn't let you go to the bathroom and you know that this teacher will be nice to you, everyone will ask that teacher, hey. So you are the 5th student to ask to go to the bathroom. She's been keeping count, this teacher, and will not let you go. Probably. Okay. You won first place. The people who are used to kind of count the students who go in to know the placements, okay? They are the ones who would give you a definite adjective. Or, the really, really hands-on parent who's watching you like a hawk. But the indefinite adjective, is used for that person who is not quite sure, So let's move on to them. What numbers would you give if you weren't quite sure of something? Okay? Many, some, a few. I don't know. Okay, so this is used when the identity of the noun is general and not really known to the reader. Okay, so there's many monkeys on my roof. I'm too scared to go outside and look, but I know there's many monkeys on my roof because it sounds really loud. Okay, or would you like some sugar? But what if some sugar is different to your quantity of sugar? So someone offers you some sugar and you only take 1 sugar and they put 15 spoons of sugar in your coffee. Okay, that's the danger of the indefinite adjective. Okay. So again, it's helping us understand the noun a bit better. Okay, it's just giving us some detail, some sugar. It's helping us understand it a little bit. Okay. Are there any chips left? Okay, chips are very unhealthy, unfortunately. My family loves them, and that's quite a common question. Okay, are there any chips left? That's helping me understand that there might not be any chips left. There might be 10 bags left. There might be 0 bags left. Okay, so it is helping me understand the chips, the noun, a bit better. There are several teachers who are tired. Be kind to your teachers. They are exhausted. Okay. That's another one. Several is a word where many use it wrong. Okay. And it's because people think it means 7. It doesn't mean 7. Several just means multiple. Okay, you could also use multiple as an indefinite adjective. Okay, so there are many teachers who are tired. Okay, so it's helping us understand the teachers a bit better, and hence it's an adjective. Okay, almost always before the noun, which will help us a lot because we are going to dive into pronouns now. And it might get tricky for us going forward simply because, well, they're the same categories. Okay, so they're very, very similar, but there are distinct differences which we will go through now. Okay. But before we go into the pronouns, I just want to quickly reiterate the difference between a definite and an indefinite adjective. Okay, definite adjectives introduce the noun in such a way that the reader knows that the noun is specific. Okay, so let's take a look at these buckets of sand here. Now, I know for sure there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buckets of sand. There are 5 spades. Do you see how I definitely know that? There's no ifs or buts about it. Okay? Let's have a look here. There are half a dozen eggs. A dozen, D-O-Z-E-N, is 12. So 6 is half a dozen eggs. Okay, and a baker's dozen is 13. So a baker would bake 13 buns, and it's called a baker's dozen because the baker will taste one of the buns to make sure that it, I didn't put salt in instead of sugar or something. And so there's 12 left over. So that's a baker's dozen. Fun fact. But anyway, so that is half a dozen of eggs, half of 12. And then when it comes to medicine, you need to be really, really careful that you take the exact amount. You'd use a definite adjective to say, I am taking 1 Panado and 1 of these. Okay, because you don't want to get your numbers mixed up and get sick. Hey. Right, now we're going to look at indefinite adjectives quickly, and we remember that this is non-specific. Let's refer back to the buckets of sand, right? We definitely knew there were 6 buckets of sand, okay? There were 5 spades. But if we go down to the river, or if we go down to the ocean and we see all the sand, okay, all the granules of sand, nobody can pick up a handful of sand and say, oh, there are 62 million granules of sand. Precisely. I know definitely. Nope. No way. We would have to use indefinite adjectives. We'd have to say there's lots of sand. Okay? There's mountains of sand. There is some sand. Okay? So we can't be specific. Okay? And then say, for example, we go to the SPCA, which is a company that takes care of puppies and kittens and old dogs, which deserve a home and a good life. Unless you physically go and count every single one, which would take you all day, you could just say, there's heaps of animals. There's plenty of animals. Okay, we just have to be non-specific. Right. So it says here the most common indefinite adjectives are a and an. Those are actually articles, which we're going to dive into a bit more, but they're also not specific. Okay, can I have an apple? You don't care what specific apple you have. Okay, you just want an apple. Okay, so that's sort of an indicator that it's indefinite. Okay, and it's an apple. Why? Because it starts with the vowel A-E-I-O-U. Okay, and then can I please have a cup of tea? Okay, a cup of tea is definitely kind of indefinite because, yeah, it's not saying, can I have the cup of tea? you don't know what cup of tea you're going to get, and you don't really mind. You just want a cup of tea. It's non-specific. Okay. Then again, you don't really know the milliliters, okay, of the actual tea. So you can't say, can I please have 50 milliliters of tea? No, you say, can I have some tea? Okay, so that's the sort of thing that we're dealing with when it comes to indefinite adjectives. They're more vague. All right. Let's test our skills quickly, guys. Before we move on, it's important to just solidify what we know so far. Okay, so let's look at the first sentence. Whose plane? Oh, look at that plane. Before we begin, let's first of all find the noun, then find the adjective. Okay, then let's quickly distinguish what type of adjective we're doing. Okay, so look at that plane. Okay, so this is a verb. This is our noun, wouldn't you agree? So that plane, that must be the adjective, okay? What plane? That plane. What type of adjective are we dealing with? Demonstrative. It's demonstrating. Look at that plane. You almost want to stick your finger up and point at it, right? Okay, look at that plane. Demonstrative. Whose plane is that? Okay, plane we know, right, is the noun. Okay, this is not quite the adjective because it's not before the noun. Okay, so not quite. So whose is the adjective. What type of adjective are we dealing with here? It's a question word, if that helps you. Where do you get questioned if you're very, very bad? In the interrogation room. Okay, at the police station. It is an interrogative adjective. Okay? It is my plane, actually. Oh, good for this person. Okay, it. That can be a noun. Okay, but I don't see any adjectives around it. Okay, is, no. My plane, actually. Actually, no, we don't need to know that. Okay, plane is the noun. Okay, so my plane. Okay, that's helping me understand this plane a lot better. It's this person's plane. Okay, so if someone's saying it's my plane, not your plane, my plane. It's possessive. It's showing us who possesses this plane. Think of the possessive boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, my plane. Okay, it's a possessive adjective. Well, it's a stunning piece of machinery. The noun here is piece of machinery. Piece of machinery. Okay, I don't know why these E's look like C's. Perhaps it's the font that I chose. Sorry, guys. Okay, but stunning piece of machinery. Okay, where would the adjective be? Okay, hopefully by now you see that the adjective is before the noun and it is describing the noun. Okay, stunning. You look stunning, doll. Stunning. Descriptive. Okay, it's descriptive. It's helping to describe this piece of machinery as very, very beautiful. Now, my question to you is, what if the third sentence stated, it is mine? Suddenly, we're not dealing with an adjective anymore. Suddenly, we are dealing with something called a pronoun. So let's dive in, shall we? Right, now we're going to move on to pronouns. Pronouns exist because they replace the nouns in the sentence, and they are extremely important because they make the sentence flow a lot easier once we've established who the subject is. Okay, so some common pronouns that we see in our day-to-day include she, her, hers, if it's a girl, okay? He, him, his, okay? And they, them, theirs, if it's a group of people, or if we don't want to determine someone's gender, we can use these words. Okay, so she is fabulous. Look at her. Okay, this pencil is hers. Same for the he, him, and his, and they, them, and theirs. Let us take a look at this example, and this will help us understand the relevance and the importance, okay, of pronouns. We're reading this, okay, in a book. Notice how tedious it can get. And Paul was very upset with Gregory, and Paul went over to Gregory and shouted, "Listen here, Gregory. The way in which Gregory talks to Paul is unacceptable, and Paul has had it up to Paul's neck with it all. Gregory needs to please show Paul more respect, or Paul is going to march into Mr. Callum's office and tell Mr. Callum exactly what has been happening to Paul and Paul. Does Gregory understand?" How could we change the sentence to make it less confusing? Okay, first of all, Paul is referring to herself as Paul multiple times. What word could we use instead? We could use the word I. Okay, and let's quickly change the sentence altogether. This, I think, is Paul over here. And she is feisty. Don't mess with Paul. Okay, but she is also communicating her needs, which is very important. Okay, anyways, so Paul was very upset with Gregory. Okay, so that is important that we do introduce the subjects. Okay, before we use pronouns, we need to know who the subject is that the pronoun is replacing. Okay, so Paul was very upset with Gregory is absolutely fine. But from here on out, we could actually change these words to make them just flow a bit better. Okay, so we could say, so she, also they. Although in English home language, it would be better to use the gender-specific names, simply because then the teacher knows that you do know the rule, okay? And then in your regular writing, you can change it to whatever you want. Anyway, so Paul was very upset with Gregory, so she went over to him and shouted, "Listen here, Gregory. The way in which you talk to me is unacceptable." Do you see that? Because now these speech marks, they indicate that she is talking in first person. Okay, she's busy confronting him right now. And so if she was saying, imagine if we never used pronouns. Imagine if we just said our names the entire time. How strange that would be. Anyway, so listen here, Gregory. The way in which you talk to me is unacceptable. And I have had it up to my neck with it all. Do you see the importance of pronouns? I do apologize. There should only be one apostrophe there. Oops. Let's remove one. Okay. You need to please show me some respect, or I'm going to march into Mr. Callum's office and tell him exactly what has been happening to poor old me. Do you understand? Okay. Doesn't that sound a bit better? Doesn't it sound less clunky? Okay. It makes you sound a lot more fluent. All right. And hence, pronouns are very important. Okay guys, now we are going to take a look at the different categories of pronoun. Now I know what you're thinking, these look awfully similar to the adjective categories and sometimes they do overlap a little bit, but I promise you if we go through them together, it should be becoming more clear to you. So let's begin at the beginning. It's a good place to start. The personal pronoun. If somebody insults you and you say, "I took that personally," you are referring to yourself. You're referring to that specific person, okay? Personal pronouns replace the names of specific people, specifically, okay? So let's take a look at the definition here. These are used to replace a specific person or object. Be kind to her. Not be kind to Emily, be kind to her. They are going for a walk. He sure is a grumpy old man. I am grateful for each day. Can you think of other ones? Okay, that is when it is that the pronoun is there to replace the name of a specific person. So hence, personal pronouns. Now we move on to the possessive pronoun. Again, think of that angry girlfriend or boyfriend who's super possessive. Okay, not the best way to be, by the way. It's far easier, it's far healthier, should I say, to give your partner the freedom to be themselves. And if they want to be with you, they will. But that's just a side quest that we can talk about later. But anyway, possessive pronoun, okay? Similar to the possessive adjective, okay? Except that this possessive word is not found before the noun. Okay, it's actually replacing the name of someone. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's look at the definition here. It is used to show that someone possesses or owns something. For example, the pen is mine. Not the pen is Pa's. Not the pen is Mr. Callum's. No, the pen is mine. Do you see how it's replacing the person's name? Do you see that subtle difference between a possessive pronoun and a possessive adjective? A possessive adjective would say, that is my pen. Very, very subtle, but very, very crucial that you understand the difference there. Okay. The curly hair is hers, or the neat table belongs to them. This island is his, it is mine, it is theirs, it is yours. Okay. So those words are not found before the noun, and hence they are not adjectives. They are replacing someone's identity, basically. Okay, then we've got the demonstrative pronoun. Remember it the same way you remember the demonstrative adjective. Okay, demonstrate, showing, pointing out something. Look at that plane. That was the one that we used for adjectives. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, so it's used to show or identify a noun or a group of nouns that may be far or near in distance or time. For example, look at this. Not look at this plane, because then it would be an adjective. It's look at this. It stands alone. Okay, it is replacing the noun. So it's not look at this apple, it's look at this, and she's pointing at an apple. So subtle, the difference, but it really, it is very important that we know the difference. Okay, the mangoes over there are very ripe. Okay, surely those are better than these. I am going, and that is that. Goodness. Gosh, if someone said that to me, I wouldn't know how to act. Okay, there is a personal pronoun here. I am going. Remember, it's very silly to use your name to refer to yourself. Gosh, that would just be crazy. Okay, and that is that. Okay. So basically, do you see how it's replacing nouns? It's not adding description to the noun anymore. Okay. Interrogative pronoun. Okay, again, if you're in a police interrogation room, they ask you a bunch of questions. It's the same thing. It's question words. Okay, but it's not question words directly, immediately linked to a noun. Right before a noun, it's not like that. It's actually more standalone, these question words. Okay, let's look. For example, who are you and what do you want with my sandwich? Okay, do you see how there's no noun over here? Okay, not whose backpack is that? Whose sandwich is that? Very different. These words are standing alone. Okay. Where is the tuck shop? Okay, another question word that's standing alone. How are you doing today? When is the homework due, ma'am? Okay, this one is good because it's showing that, yes, okay, homework is in the sentence and it is referring to the homework, but it is more of a standalone situation. It's not right before the word homework. Okay, right. Definite pronoun, okay, used to give the exact number. For example, that will be 500 Rand. It's not saying the 500 Rand, what costs 500 Rand these days? The 500 Rand pencil case is too expensive, which, by the way, if you're paying that much for a pencil case, you need to reevaluate your priorities, okay? So the 500 Rand pencil case, then 500 Rand would be an adjective because it's telling us more, it's telling us a lot actually about this pencil case, the 500 Rand pencil case. Therefore, I know it's very expensive. I've got more detail about the pencil case, but they're just saying that, by the way, in this sentence is demonstrative, okay? That will be 500 Rand. The 500 Rand is standing alone. Do you see? Okay. The girl came first in the race. Okay, not the first girl in the race was happy. The girl came first. First is standing alone here. You are 1 in a million. Okay. But once you take into account that there's 7 billion people on the planet, less of a compliment. Okay. South Africa has a population of 59.31 million people. That's a statistic that I got from the internet, and it's quite recent. So, gosh, there's a lot of us. Okay. But yes, if, for example, 59.31 million was found before population, so the 59.31 million population of South Africa is always growing, then 59.31 would be an adjective, okay, because that's telling us more about the population. But because it says South Africa has a population of this much, it's hence a definite pronoun, okay, because it's standing on its own, okay, it's separated, physically separated by words, okay, from the noun here, but also it's here, it is kind of replacing, I suppose. Maybe think about this. This word is replacing like population of this many people. It's more just saying the number itself. Okay. Indefinite pronouns, again, these are pronouns that are not specific. Okay, so let's have a look at the example. Oh, and remember, if you're a visual learner, to use the very, very kind of atypical personality that has all their ducks in a row. Kind of, they know the definite answers to everything, and then kind of the la-di-da, more head in the clouds. I don't know. Somebody stop me. I don't know. Okay, the more indefinite person. Okay, so those are your visual cues. Anyway, so when you are trying, I'm now over here, guys. When you are trying to describe an amount, but you are being non-specific, you're not being specific, that is when you are using an indefinite pronoun. Okay, you are loved by many and disliked by few. Why do you focus on the few? That's something that we might need to take a look at, right? So it's not saying you are loved by many people. It's replacing the word people, guys. It's replacing the word people with many. Okay? You are loved by many. It's assumed that we're talking about people. They're not talking about penguins. You are loved by many penguins and disliked by a few penguins. Nah, they're talking about people. Okay, so it is replacing the word. Okay, and disliked by few. If it did say many people, then many would therefore be an adjective. Okay, and disliked by few, why do you focus on the few? And that's just human instinct. We want everyone to like us sometimes. It's impossible, and that's okay, right? Because you like you, and you know your ethics and what you stand for, and that is enough. Anywho, and again, a story for another day. I don't know why I'm so philosophical today. Right, let's move on. Somebody stopped by to give you this envelope. So it's like very vague, okay? Associate the word indefinite with vague, just kind of someone who's not very observant. Somebody stopped and gave you this envelope. Okay, don't worry, nobody noticed. When you do something embarrassing, that's quite a comforting thing. So they're not saying, don't worry, Gregory, Joshua, Sipo, everyone, Ashwin, nobody noticed. Like, you can't list everybody in the crowd. It's far easier to be like, don't worry, nobody noticed. Okay, it's kind of a general term. Everybody in the crowd was having the time of their lives. Everybody. Okay, it's not saying all 1,500 individuals and children in the crowd were having the time of their lives. No, this person's just like, everybody loved it. Okay, more nonchalant could be another word. Just kind of like, give some, take some, you win some, you lose some. Okay, very vague. Okay, no one knows what I go through. Perhaps I should say something. Very important to always talk about what you're going through. You cannot assume that people just know what's going on, you know? Anyway, so no one is another example of an indefinite pronoun. Right, now we are going to tackle two different types of pronouns which end in self, you know, himself, herself, themselves, and myself. Okay, so when you see a self word, we might be thinking to there's another one, ourselves, that this is either emphatic or reflexive. All right, so let's start with emphatic. This one, as you can see in the name, often the names of these categories do give it away a bit. Emphatic equals emphasis. When you are trying to emphasize something, okay, you will use an emphatic pronoun. Let us look at some examples over here. The Queen herself came to visit me and she loved my scones. Okay, so say for example someone is insulting your guardian, they turn around and they say, well, she could say, the Queen came to visit me and she loved my scones. Or doesn't it sound better to say, well, the Queen herself came to me and she loved my scones? Do you see the power of the emphasis here? Okay, and also I just want you to take note that often the emphatic pronoun is found right next to the thing that you are trying to emphasize, right next to the noun that you are trying to emphasize. Okay, let's have a look at another one. The most populous boy in school himself asked me to go to the dance. Okay, perhaps you have a brother and sister. Okay, we like to insult each other. I don't know why. That your brother turns around and says, oh, but you're so ugly. You can go, well, I'll have you know, the most popular boy at school himself asked me to go to the dance. So, what do you have to say to that? Okay, you could say, obviously, the most popular boy in school asked me to go to the dance, and it still sounds pretty good. But the himself, it just adds like that emphasis of, yeah, well, he himself asked me. Okay, it's definitely the type of pronoun that is used for the sassy writer, which I'm sure I have some in the audience today. Let's look at another example. The teachers themselves said that I did the best essay that they have ever read. Okay, so you could say the teacher said that I did the best essay that they have ever read, and that would be a perfectly good sentence. It would be fine, but it definitely adds a lot of emphasis to say, well, the teacher themselves said that it was the best. Okay, do you see the power of the emphatic pronoun? Always next to the noun, always next to the thing that you are trying to emphasize. The pilot himself said that he was afraid of the storm. Yeah, that's a pretty scary sentence. If you ever find yourself in an aeroplane one day and the pilot himself is afraid, you should be very afraid. So it's emphasizing that we are in danger here because the pilot himself said that he was scared. Okay, so it emphasizes that noun. That noun is very important in the sentence, and it's used to emphasize the importance of that person and why people should be listening. Okay, now reflexive pronouns, the other category, is also very important. Don't get me wrong, there is a distinct difference right off the bat, and that is that it's always at the end. Okay, so it's always reflecting back on who actually has done the task. Let's have a look at the definition. This is often used to reflect back on who has done the task. So who's done the task? Who's the subject, right? Because the subject in the sentence is the person doing the activity. Okay. I washed all the dishes. Okay, so this person is the subject. Very normal sentence. I washed all the dishes. But as soon as you say, I washed all the dishes myself, it definitely adds a bit of emotion to the sentence. Depending on the tone, perhaps this person's really angry that she washed or he washed the dishes themselves, okay, or they're really proud of themselves, you know. I washed all the dishes myself, okay, so I've accomplished a lot today, leave me alone. Okay, let's have a look at another sentence. You did the entire group project by yourself? Okay, so you did the entire group project. Okay, pretty normal sentence. By yourself. It's reflecting. Who did it? You did it. Do you see why it's called a reflective pronoun? A reflexive, should I say. Okay, it's always reflecting back. It's always at the end. Okay, it's always at the end of the sentence. Why? Because it's reflecting back on the subject. Reflecting back. What does it mean to reflect? It means to look in a mirror is reflective. So if you look in the mirror is looking back at you. If you are reflecting on your life, you are looking back on your decisions, on your memories. Okay, so it's called reflective because it's at the end and it's looking back at the subject. Okay, let's look at the last example. The children cooked this delicious meal by themselves. Sounds like a very proud moment. Okay, so who did it? The children, right? The children did it. How did they do it? By themselves. Okay, so that is the difference between an emphatic and a reflective sentence. Remember, emphatic, emphasis, okay, to make sure that that point really pops. Reflexive, to reflect back on the noun, on who actually did the task. So, the subject. Okay, now we are going to tackle a pronoun that is a tricky one. I'm not going to lie to you because it kind of looks like a conjunction every now and then in the sense that it's now a pronoun that's also a joining word. Okay, and by joining word, I mean that it's now turning two sentences into one sentence. And the reason why it is able to do that, simply put, is because instead of repeating the noun, the subject the whole time, if you take out one of the times when that noun is mentioned, you can actually merge these two sentences and make one sentence. Okay, so bear with me. Let's look at the definition and some examples as well. So this is a pronoun that functions as a joining word. It will replace the noun in the second sentence and make two sentences one. So let's look at some examples, okay? Here we have the girl kicked the ball. The girl will not be able to fetch the ball. The girl and the girl are mentioned twice. It is separated by a full stop. Now, that sentence, these sentences do sound a bit stilted, a bit clunky. It doesn't flow very nicely. Why do they keep on saying the girl, the girl, the girl? Okay, the answer is you don't have to, right? You could say the girl who kicked the ball will not be able to fetch it. Doesn't that sound a bit better? Okay, so the pronouns, the relative pronouns that we deal with are who, that, which, and whose. These are your relative pronouns, and we're going to look at an example of each one. Okay, essentially what happens is we take out one of the nouns. Okay, we only need one. We don't need to repeat the dog, the dog, the dog, the dog, right? So we take one out and then we figure out a way to merge two sentences and to make them one sentence. Okay, so the dog is on a leash. The dog cannot leave the owner's side. Oops, we're missing something. What are we missing, guys? We're missing an apostrophe before the S because there's only one owner. Okay, if there were multiple owners, then we would obviously move the apostrophe after the S. Okay, but let's just say. Right, so we can turn this into the dog that is on a leash cannot leave the owner's side. Okay, why am I not using who there? Why am I not saying the dog who is on a leash cannot leave the owner's side? Well, that is because of the rule that says if we are referring to an animal, okay, or if we're referring to an object or a place, we cannot use who. Who, W-H-O, okay, is used for people only. I know, dogs are people, dogs are my family, dogs are my babies. I've heard it all before. I don't make the rules, okay? Dogs have to be referred to as that, not who. Okay. Or what we could also say is the dog that cannot leave the owner's side is on a leash. So we take this part of the sentence and we put it in front of this part of the sentence, and that is absolutely okay, as long as it sounds like fluent English, okay, as long as the sentence flows and it makes logical sense to the reader, it is acceptable. You don't have to put the first part of the sentence before the other, or vice versa. Okay, let's have a look at the pen over here. Pen, I'm down here, guys. Do you see where I'm moving my marker? Okay. The pen is blue. The pen is leaking. Okay? The pen which is leaking is blue. You could say the pen that is leaking is blue as well, but which just sounds more professional. Okay, this pen which happens to be leaking is blue. Let's look at the last sentence. Or how could we say? How could we word this? We could say the pen which is blue is leaking. That is also absolutely acceptable. So there is a bit of leeway when it comes to the relative pronoun, but if you see something like this in the test where they keep on repeating the dog, the dog, the dog, the pen, the pen, the pen, take note that chances are they want you to replace one of those repetitions of the word, the pen, the pen, the pen, with a pronoun to make the sentence flow a bit better. Okay, let's look at our last sentence. The teacher's shoes are always very clean. What's a better adjective for very clean? Sparkling? Okay. Exquisitely clean? Just some words to think about. Anyway, the teacher's shoes are always very clean. The teacher's shoes were all dirty from the rain. The teacher, whose shoes are always very clean, were all dirty from the rain. Okay. Or we could maybe, I think that's the only way to say that sentence. Okay, I think that is the only way to say that sentence. Because if we said the teacher, you could say perhaps the teacher's shoes that were all dirty from the rain are always very clean. It doesn't flow as well because it doesn't really make as much logical sense. Okay, so if you were wanting to talk about perhaps the teacher's shoes as the noun, then make sure you don't use the word whose. Okay, because you're not referring to a person anymore. You're referring to the shoes, and then it would be which or that. Anyway, so the teacher's shoes, which are always very clean, were dirty from the rain. Okay, or the teacher whose shoes are always very clean were all dirty from the rain. Okay, I think if you add the are normally very clean at the end, it wouldn't be a clear logical thought unless you said, unless you started to add words like they are normally very clean, but they're dirty now. But you don't actually want to add any words. You want to make sure that all you are really doing is replacing the second noun with a relative pronoun, and then you know you're on the right track. As soon as you want to start adding words, perhaps you should revise how you approach this sentence. Okay, I hope that relative pronouns make sense. Okay, so remember, if you're seeing a noun being repeated all the time, perhaps it's time to start using your relative pronouns to make your sentences flow a bit better. Okay, so let's quickly look at this activity. Let's have a look at the questions at the bottom over here. It says, point out the personal pronouns. Why are they personal pronouns? And are these personal pronouns replacing the subject or the object of the verb? What? Noun. Replacing the subject or the object of the noun. I'm so sorry. That word's meant to be noun, not verb. Okay, so the way you look tonight in this moonlight. Okay, I am seeing this over here, but I know that this is not a pronoun. How do I know that this is not a pronoun? Because it's right before moonlight. And moonlight is the object of the sentence. It's a noun. Okay, this moonlight, so this would be a demonstrative adjective, hey? Because it's describing the moonlight a little bit better. Not the pronoun we're looking for, okay? I think look is a noun, okay? I mean, oh gosh, what's wrong with me? Look is a verb, okay? The way you would be a pronoun because it's replacing someone's name. If it's replacing someone's name, it's a personal pronoun. Okay, so we've pointed out the personal pronoun to why? Because it's replacing somebody's name. Okay, as it's replacing the subject or the object of the noun. Well, let's have a look at that. Okay, are you in this sentence actually doing an activity, or is an activity being done to this noun? You look. The way you look. You are the one looking, so it's the subject, because subject is the thing that's doing the activity. Okay, let's have a look at this one. That duck nearly bit me. I found the noun duck. Okay, here is something right before duck. Okay, so it's probably an adjective. It's a demonstrative adjective again, because you have the urge to point at it. That duck. I'm even pointing as I'm talking. Okay, it's demonstrating which duck bit me? That duck. Okay, but that is not a pronoun. Where is the pronoun, guys? Me. Me is the pronoun. Okay, instead of saying your name, okay, that duck nearly bit Sipo, and you are Sipo, okay, you said me, so you replaced that name, so that is the pronoun. Is it a personal pronoun? Yep, you are replacing somebody's name, a specific person's name, me. Okay, where's the verb? Bit, or nearly bit, should I say? Okay, bit. Okay, bit is the verb, right? So we have, okay, so something's biting. What's biting? The duck. Okay, so the duck is the subject. The duck is the one doing the activity. Who's nearly receiving this verb? Who's nearly getting bitten? Me. So it's the object of the sentence. Okay. I hope that this was helpful. I am going to stop this video here, but we have lots more parts of speech to explore together. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this helped all of the adjectives and the pronouns, and even a few nouns in there as well. I hope that this is all coming across more clearly in your mind. I'll see you soon, and yes, thank you again. Goodbye.